We actually think of our purpose as being about connection to the natural world, our loved ones, and our own spirit. People finding presence and setting an intention and doing what they want. It's sort of the opposite of scrolling on your phone.
Would you be able to tell me a bit more about how you guys are able to market such a special message with your candles?
Number one, building relationships. And number two is storytelling, telling great stories. We put a lot of investment into our customer service, really putting a lot of effort into knowing our customers.
You're not using Instagram, and I would assume that you're not using any social platforms.
We got off social media entirely in January 2021. And the storytelling we were doing, which was something really enjoyable for us, we weren't really telling a story for our audience. We were telling our story for an algorithm. It felt very misaligned with our purpose of connection.
Hey everybody, and thank you for listening. My name is Andres Figueira, and I'm going to be your host for the day. This show is brought to you by the Global Talent Company, a company that's helping growing teams hire exceptional remote talent from Argentina, South Africa, and anywhere really. So what we do is that we connect companies with world-class professionals who bring skill, reliability, and global perspective to every role. So if your team's looking to grow with proven remote talent, just head on over to theglobaltalent.co and see how we can help. And today, with me here, I am speaking with Harry Dole, founder and creative director of Keap Candles, a company that proudly crafts candles that are masterfully scented, virtually zero waste, and that help to build towards a regenerative future. So, Harry, how's it going, man? A pleasure to have you here.
What's up, Andres? Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Harry, so that we can get this podcast started and maybe then just give the audience a bit more context as to who you are and what Keap Candles actually is, would you be able to tell us a bit of how you got here and how Keap Candles started?
Yeah, of course. So I started Keap Candles in 2015. A little bit about me. I have a pretty non-linear career path. My parents were hoteliers in France, so I grew up with that experience. They actually moved to Italy when I was in high school, so grew up in France and Italy. Then came to the US for university and spent, after a few detours, ended up at Google/YouTube. And worked there for a while as the term data scientist was just starting to come up. It wasn't yet a fully accepted thing. So I was kind of on the verge of data analyst and data scientist, you could say, but focused more on the business and finance side of Google/YouTube. And I started the company with one of my closest friends, Steven, who was also working with me at YouTube. And a lot of people kind of joke that like, whoa, Google to candles, that is such a doesn't really make sense on the face of it. And it kind of doesn't make sense. There weren't like that many synergies, honestly, between that previous job and what I'm doing now. But it was related in that I think we were feeling, even though I met some great people at Google, learned so much, I'm really grateful that I had to have that experience. We're also feeling a certain disconnection, both through the sort of short-term, quarterly profits-driven, and increasingly quarterly profits-driven approach to work that we were seeing, and also this nagging kind of feeling around watch time being the metric that was being optimized for YouTube. This is a long time ago, so it was when it was just starting to be used as the metric that everything was focused on. And I don't think we really had the vocabulary or quite the awareness to say like what it was exactly that was bugging us. But we found in candles a refuge. We were roommates also, and every night we'd go home, light candles. We talked about candles all the time and started really discussing why candles were so special to us. And we then took perfumery courses. We then visited some contract manufacturers to see what was going on. We made our own candles at home, and gradually we were just in too deep, and we had to go fully in it. And we started with a Kickstarter campaign in 2015 that did really well, and that gave us the start to get going and build a wonderful community around making candles that, as you say, combine really the highest quality scents designed by some of the world's best master perfumers with a pretty radical approach to circular design, and with the ultimate aim of a regenerative vision, as we talk. The idea that everything that we impact and touch is left better off than than before it came into contact with us, if that makes sense.
Wow, of course. That is like such a noble cause, just making sure that things are better than how you left them or how you found them. It's just crazy. I think it's a very nice way to view life and business as well. And Harry, and when you mentioned that you started, you had a Kickstarter campaign for the candles, in that campaign, what was like the differentiator or what caused people to want to invest in the business that makes it different from any other candle store?
Well, I should say the company's changed a lot since that first Kickstarter campaign. That was 10 years ago. So my answer of like what makes us different today is a little bit different than what made us different back then. The candle market has also changed a lot since then. There's just been massive like growth and like proliferation of brands since then. Back then, it was about, at the time, we actually put an emphasis on providing master perfumer scents in a more affordable way. We were still in that kind of early wave of direct-to-consumer businesses at the time, and we approached that path with the idea that we wouldn't raise venture capital, and it was in those days where it was really in the dying days of when social media, you could build a social media following organically and without paid media, and just through great storytelling. It feels like so long ago, but you could do that back then. And we were really thinking about really bringing the beauty of the highest levels of perfumery that we got to learn through our courses to a broader audience. I think since then a lot of changes have happened. Our prices have gone up a lot because we learned the economic reality of this industry and of these products. And I would say we're definitely a luxury product now. I wouldn't hide away from that. And really, what has been a constant is our pursuit of sustainability and like breaking new ground in that realm. Most candles, especially luxury candles, are pretty much all made by a few contract manufacturers, and so they kind of all use the same. Every brand is using the same materials, basically. And so, by us having our own production in house, we're vertically integrated. We just have so much more control on not just the raw materials of our wax and fragrance, but also our glass, our boxes, our packaging. We really get to pick every single item and put the kind of care that we wanted as super candle nerds in our candles. And
No, but I really like that because the fact that you have everything integrated in-house, it allows you to really choose and make sure that what you're creating, it aligns with the vision that you have for Keap Candles, which it is for it being regenerative. And my understanding is that you're looking for sustainability and to create a product that doesn't affect the world negatively, as there is so many nowadays that just are being created for the sake of selling. So if that's not the mission for Keap Candles, please correct me, but that's the vibe I'm getting.
I think that's accurate. We and to be clear, we have this regenerative vision, and we talk about it as a vision and an approach. We're not currently regenerative. It's very hard in the way our current economy is structured to reach that North Star, but that's where we're incrementally, bit by bit, aiming to get closer and closer to. And we actually think of our purpose as being about connection, though. It's about connection to the natural world, our loved ones, and our own spirit. And the idea of regeneration kind of cuts across all of that. But we definitely see, just in how our customers use our candles, one feature of kind of our business is that it's centered around a subscription. So we have a group of a few thousand, what we call keepers, who get a candle either every other month or on some other regular cadence. And they share with us their rituals and how they use candles. And really, I think that's been one of the most humbling, and makes me almost want to cry just even thinking about it, just hearing how it helps, how the candles act as a supporting companion in people finding presence and setting an intention and doing what they want. It's sort of the opposite of scrolling on your phone. When you light a candle, it's typically associated with, I'm lighting a candle so that I can focus on my art or on my work or on my children or on my partner or on cleaning my house and taking care of myself. Um, and the candle the flame of the candle sort of sits there as a gentle reminder that this is what you decided to do for yourself, rather than try and pull you into what someone else is trying to have you focus on. So I think, especially as the way technology is evolving, I've kind of fallen in love like a second time with candles in a different way. Um, and so, yeah, that's our purpose of the company is really around connection. And I think we differentiate ourselves a lot through some of the things we've done around sustainability.
Wow, that is so nice, Harry. And I must say that it actually hits home with me because I found love for candles less than a year ago, actually. And it's because my grandmother, may she rest in peace, she used to be like, I'm originally from Venezuela and she was over there and I'm living in Argentina right now. But she used to light a candle every single time that we were expecting or working for something to happen, like a job application or you had an exam that you needed to pass. She would always light a candle for good luck and to like have that what's it called, that moment of actually manifesting that you want something to happen. And she really, that like that tradition rubbed off on me. And now every time I'm anxious about something that I want to happen, I'll light a candle in her honor and in to give me the moment of presence and to just say, okay, I want this to happen. I'll just close my eyes for a moment, disconnect, and then just keep working at it. But so much so that I even got a tattoo of a candle, man. So
Wow. That's really beautiful, Andres. That's so cool to hear. And yeah, I think I relate to candles in a very similar way, in my own different way, obviously, than your very personal story. But um, I think that's become definitely one of my favorite parts is just hearing these stories from so many people. And we try and really make our candles, the way they're made, the way the people who are making them are treated, the materials we use, and how the ecosystems, the places where they're coming from, that it all feels aligned, that you're not like having this potentially intense spiritual moment that's really important to you, and the idea of having it sullied because in the back it's actually a super dirty supply chain or something like that. That's my nightmare, and so I don't want that.
that's my truth right now. Like I'm buying candles from wherever I can find them. If I had something like Keap Candles here in Argentina, it would be so much. It would be much more special.
I'd love for us to come down to Argentina. That sounds really nice. Yeah.
And Harry, how would you be able to tell me a bit more about how you guys are able to market this such a special message with your candles? Like, how are you able to get your consumers to understand this is the intention you have behind the creation of this product?
Yeah, I would say the way our marketing department is not called marketing. We call it storytelling and community. And then within community, we also have a big partnerships bucket. So in some ways, it's storytelling, community, and partnerships. And we really think of it as number one, building relationships, and number two, or it's not a hierarchy, they're really side by side, is storytelling, telling great stories. And we have just this wealth of great stories because we get to see and like touch literally the stuff that we're making for you, and talk to the producers of the ingredients we use. We just have all this context, and we've only scratched like the tiniest surface of telling all those stories to our customers. There's so much more I want to do there. And then on the relationship side, it's a lot of things. We do. We have a very popular newsletter. That's our main outlet for kind of keeping in touch with people sort of from our end. We put a lot of investment into our customer service. We're known for having a really personal customer service that just people don't expect to get from an e-commerce company. And we try and also have as many like in-person interactions as we can in lots of ways. And then a really big thing that's just so important for us, and we're also over the last few years gotten more known for this, is really putting a lot of effort into knowing our customers. Where we have a famous, like talking as if we're like some big company, we're like a tiny company. We're like is popular with our small community, but we have an annual survey that we do every summer that is really long. To be honest, I'm shocked that anyone spends the time to fill it. but we get, hundreds of people that fill it every year, and it's super touching. And we get feedback that from the people filling it that they loved the questions, and they love actually the reflections that they got to do in the process. And it just gives us such a better handle on how people are experiencing our products, and what else is going on in their lives around, not everything, but around the practices that involve our candles, that involve our company in some way. And that informs so much of what we do on storytelling, on partnerships. And then for us, we really thought about, once we know our customer, we know what the value that we provide that's different. Where are the places where we can have a really positive first contact with people? And we found that Instagram, which was where we initially thought things would happen for us, was kind of a terrible first date place, because in practice, when you think about how we use Instagram, it's typically 2 a.m. in our beds, or like 6 a.m. in our beds, like scrolling through a feed. And it's like lots of like a mix of like candy and rage, and maybe not for everyone, but that was my experience. And it's very, you get kind of in a negative mindset. And so then when you discover something new for the first time, you're not in really the best place to be your best self. And meanwhile, when people smell our candles, because that's kind of the key thing that determined for our product, it's all about the smell, or almost all about the smell, in terms of whether really someone wants to go for it. And so we wanted to find touch points where people are going to smell our candles, and it's in an environment that fits our values, or that otherwise creates a really positive entry point, a positive association that we're also excited about. So we work with a lot of hospitality and gift stores that are very carefully chosen, that where we know that it's going to be a really personal experience, that it's going to be something it's going to feel like a special discovery. And it is, because you can't just find us, on Amazon or at Walmart or something like that. And we want that first. We really focused on making that first touch point kind of magical, and kind of a great introduction. And then it's on our end to then create a really positive customer experience through our products, through our packaging, through our storytelling, through our customer service. And so retention is also has been a big focus of this past decade for us, and just making it so that people really love what they're doing. They don't want to like leave us, and hopefully they also want to tell their friends about us.
And then, Harry, so you're not using Instagram, and I would assume that you're not using any social platforms then, like TikTok or influencer-based marketing, nothing like that.
No, nothing like that. Though we are starting a program. So I should recap for your listeners. We got off social media entirely in January 2021. Almost 5 years now that we've been completely off social media. We'd been discussing it for two years roughly. And we almost got off in 2019 or 2018, I can't remember. And ended up deciding, well, let's not. But then it kept coming back. And then I think January 2021 was not that long after The Social Dilemma came out. I don't know if you've seen that Netflix documentary.
Yes, I know which one it is.
It's a documentary, for those who haven't seen it, that interviews some ex-Facebook, ex-Google, I think ex-Twitter employees who started this thing called the Center for Humane Technology that has been focused on trying to remedy the harms of social media and is now actually focused on remedying the harms of AI and trying to channel us towards a direction where AI doesn't destroy us, basically. And they, but it's a really fascinating documentary, and it was saying really what Steven and I felt, but we just weren't as didn't have as deep a knowledge or deep a vocabulary, to be honest, as them in terms of how to express it. And it really pushed us further into the idea that it wasn't right for us. I think it felt very misaligned with our purpose of connection, and thinking about how the dynamics of the platform, which I would say when we joined in 2015, we didn't really feel that way. The platform very gradually, with each change, kind of evolved more and more in this direction that was that we didn't see as serving our needs of connection. And I will say, like, for some people, I don't want to say like everyone should get off social media, take their business off social media. Obviously, I think it can be the right thing for you. And if you love it, I'm super happy to hear that. And you should definitely keep doing the thing you love. For us, it was really not giving us joy. And we were feeling like we'd started our own company, but now we had this boss that really sucked that we had to work for. And it wasn't that we weren't creating increasingly the communication, the storytelling we were doing, which was something really enjoyable for us to share with our customers and share with our audience, that the platform was working in such a way that we weren't really telling a story for our audience. We were telling our story for an algorithm. And the more that happened, the more we felt a tension that became irreconcilable between, we either tell the story that we want to tell and the algorithm's going to be like, nah, or we tell the story the algorithm wants and it's going to be inauthentic. It's going to be a kind of us turning ourselves into something we're not. And even I think there were many other reasons. Also, it wasn't working for us. I think many businesses, especially small businesses, think they have to be on social media as a kind of, not for any like real reason, just like you should, that you're not serious if you're not on it or something. But yeah, we got off. It felt amazing. We communicated it to our customers in our newsletter. We sort of put a sort of on Instagram, we kind of put a message saying, we're no longer here. Send us an email, follow our newsletter. And then on our newsletter, that still to this day is by far the most number of responses we ever got to a newsletter. I forget, it was like 150 or 200. I don't remember. It was so many responses. Every single one was positive and like celebratory, and people saying, man, this is so cool. I wish more companies did this, which was not what we expected. We were very scared, and we were like, oh man, maybe people, we had all sorts of like narratives in our mind, fear narratives in our mind, that like maybe people would think we're such like privileged douchebags who are like doing this because, you know, you can for whatever reason. And I don't know, we had all these things that completely didn't materialize. And I think it's brought us much more in alignment with where we want our company to go. And it's allowed us to focus all that time and energy we were spending and money on creating an Instagram feed, then has gone to some of these other things that we both enjoy more. They get better business results. One aside there is actually, as a marketer, is interesting, is that a lot of the things we're doing are not as easy to track. You can't get like live real-time metrics of the work you're doing. You often have to wait a bit longer to get tracking, or you can get a rough estimate. You know, there are these things that are just have a bit more friction in the data tracking than, you know, paid media on social media, for example. But I think there's a big bias in, to be honest, the whole knowledge economy in many places around working only on things that can be tracked really accurately. Oftentimes, as myself being a data analyst, I learned that there's just a lot of times where the goal you actually want, you can't actually track exactly how you're doing. You sort of have to use a number of proxies that are kind of that thing, but not quite. And you need to remember that when looking at that data, that's not quite the thing you're trying to do, and make sure that you're not going into optimizing for a goal that's not actually your goal. And I don't know if that's like too abstract, but
no, but like I get it. It's like you're trying to increase or make better these metrics that just work as signals and don't actually signify the mission or the final goal you have. And you can just get lost in that, because I do feel from hearing you speak, Harry, that social media nowadays, it's like a status quo that everybody just needs to have it. And then you're chasing these empty metrics and inflated variables that it's like, yeah, you got virality and 1 million people saw your product, but it's 1 million people who could be in the Philippines where you don't actually sell. So it doesn't actually turn into a conversion or actually benefit the business. So I totally understand why you would stray away from that. And it's so cool that you got your consumer support and that they all love the fact that you guys dropped from social platforms and everything like that, because I would also expect or think that they wouldn't be too happy. So that's a nice surprise.
Yeah. No, thank you for framing it that way. You really covered it well. I think it makes me think of something that was just this week, came up as a possibility that we discussed. But I don't know if on this podcast you ever discussed email giveaways, where companies kind of partner together and there's sort of like a gambling incentive. Like if you sign up to all these emails, you might get like a super big prize. One person will get this big prize. In our very early days, we did a few of those. And what we learned was even when the companies were well aligned with us, which wasn't always the case, um, you end up with all these emails. You get like tens of thousands of emails or maybe more than that. And, we would tend to be like, wow, we got like 100,000 emails. So awesome. And then the reality is when you look closely at it, like zero customers, like 100,000 just pure spam, essentially. I mean, many of these are real people, but they didn't join you because they're interested in your story. They're joining you because it's free gambling and they get a chance to win a big prize. And so you got them the wrong way. And what we found is like it's not just no value; it's actually negative value because of the way email clients work and how your open rates will collapse and you'll get punished for that by Gmail and Yahoo Mail and all these places. And actually you'll find that even the people who wanted to read your stuff no longer receive it anymore.
It's true. It's true. So you're trying to chase the approval of these systems and algorithms that don't actually match what you're looking for. And then you're in this endless race for something that you don't even care about. Like every time I hear you speak of the reasons you guys have for dropping from social media, I'm like, should I do it too?
No, exactly. I think I think it depends on the business and it depends on who you are and what you want, and there's no one size for this kind of thing. But I found since it was actually after the Trump inauguration this year, I got out of the blue all these people calling me, asking me, like small business owners asking me about leaving social media and kind of sharing their fears. And I did find like each business was different, but the main themes were that these business owners felt scared, but it was more of when you do something that no one else is doing, that aspect of it is scary, not like necessarily rooted in like some kind of like argument or, calculation around what will happen.
Of course, it's like imposter syndrome. It's like, I'm not sure if I should. I'm the first one.
Yeah, exactly. So, and that feels scary. I definitely think that's a scary thing for most of us. And but these people also, clearly like didn't want to be on it, and they were only doing it out of a sense of essentially I should, like a duty or an obligation that's imposed from some kind of up there. And so, yeah, I would encourage kind of people to if that's how you feel listening to this, I would encourage you to just consider it just from what's it doing for your business, what's it doing for you, and go from there.
That's amazing. It's like there is another option. You don't have to just go to every single social media platform and spend all your marketing budget in making those algorithms work for you. But you could just do something that resounds more with your public and your consumers. And that way you get a more organic following. I don't want to say following since we're dropping from social media, but it's like the audience you have and the people who are interested will increase.
And I think especially B2B businesses, I mean, obviously it's a huge group, so I don't want to generalize completely, but I think most B2B businesses probably social media is probably not that important to their business or isn't really what's driving their business. So yeah, interesting topic.
It's true. It's true. No, I like that. It's a lot of food for thought because it is a topic that isn't addressed in this perspective nowadays. It's more from the, why don't you have it? Create it. You need to do it. And it's a bit of pressure all around. So I get that.
You need to post at least 3 times a day, Andres, or else you're missing out.
Oh my goodness. If I hear that one more time, I'm going to delete all the apps on my phone, not just social media. But Harry, I'm just noticing that we're already at time, but I did want to give you the chance before we finish the episode to let anybody in the audience who's hearing us know how they can reach out and learn about Keap Candles, how they can buy some of your products if they're, if I'm not mistaken, you guys are in the States, right? Only in the States.
Yeah, so we ship nationwide in the United States. Unfortunately, not currently internationally. You can find us at keapcandles.com. It's spelled KEA as in apple, P as in Peter. Candles.com. and join our newsletter on our website. And yeah, we have that's where you can find our candles basically. And yeah, we love if you have questions. Our email is thelab@keapcandles.com. And just love to hear from you, especially if you have questions about getting off your business off social media. I'm always happy to meet people who are interested in that. So yeah, get in touch.
I love that. I love that. You can even start doing just speeches about the success story of dropping from social media, because it's always the other way around. But really appreciate that, Harry. You being so open and telling us where you're coming from with all that Keap Candles has become. And to anybody in the audience, you just heard where you can find out more about these candles. KEAP Candles.com, right? Amazing. Perfect. So thank you so much, Harry, for coming on the episode, bro. It really has been a pleasure.
Thanks so much, Andres. Pleasure meeting you.
Likewise. And to anybody in the audience, thank you so much for being here, listening to us, and just hope that you keep returning to see the different personalities that we talk to and the different industries that we learn about.